Welcome to Scoop World Order. Hope you guys are having a great Tuesday. It's great to have you guys along with us. Is there a big D tackle in the portal that Ohio State could be going after? A kid that visited in December and has done the flip-flop, which I don't really love, but hey, he's a body, and our D tackles need a little bit of depth, so he's a guy that's a good option. And Ohio State obviously has had interest in him in the past, so we're going to see how this goes. Real quick, on a somber note, I want to say some prayers for Tom Ryan. Tom Ryan was in a very severe car accident today. He's been in surgery for most of the day. It was a devastating accident. Non-life-threatening, but some pretty gnarly injuries are what I was told. And Tom Ryan, for those of you guys that don't follow Ohio State Wrestling, is their head coach. He's one of the finest human beings you'll ever meet. Gentleman, big in the FCA. Just has always been an incredible guy to be around. Easy guy to root for. Honestly, one of the greatest Buckeyes of all time in my eyes. And I never wrestled in my life, but I've met him. He's always treated me like a dear friend. And I've never heard anybody say a bad word about Tom Ryan. So, if you guys could lift him up in prayers, that'd be appreciated because he is a stud of a dude. And I know that he's going to have a long road to recovery. Thank God it wasn't worse, because if you look at the car wreckage, it's pretty bad. But he is supposed to make a recovery. I don't know how long it'll take. He's been in surgery basically all day since this morning when he was driving to his morning workout. So if you could pray for Tom, we'd appreciate it here at BuckeyeScoop.com because he is a great dude. He's scheduled to come on the show pretty quick here, but I know obviously that'll be postponed. But we're thinking about you, Tom, and all the wrestling community at Ohio State because, again, there are great people in that program. And just thinking about Tom and his family, and I hope he makes a full recovery soon. That being said, as always, we appreciate you guys each and every night. It's great that you guys are here. We appreciate you guys being here. Again, our chat is electric. We appreciate all of you guys that are in our chat all day. Appreciate all the guys that are in the crazy group chat that we're in right now. My phone does not stop dinging. Thank you, Devin and Akeem. I think it's hilarious, but I think it's actually great how much camaraderie there is from Buckeye Scoop. So thank you guys for that. And we appreciate you guys for all you guys do. Again, this is a big show because you guys have made it one. So we never take our eye off the ball when it comes to that. We appreciate you guys so much for all that you guys do. Thank you for all you do for Buckeye Scoop and BuckeyeScoop.com. If you guys enjoy this content, leaving us a like is always very helpful. You can do that right at the start of the show. Get it out of the way. Get it right off your mind. If you could click subscribe, that is huge. If you guys have not subscribed yet, share this with your friends, your family, any of the big Buckeye supporters that you know. I think they will enjoy the content. We are far and away the number one Ohio State podcast per the ratings and every metric that there is imaginable. So we appreciate you guys for taking care of us and enjoying the show and consuming the show. And it all adds up, and we're just very thankful for that. And if you guys enjoy the live shows, we go live at about 7 every night. So please, if you could click the alert bell, that is huge to make sure you guys never miss a live show. Again, we love doing these live shows. We love the interactivity. We love the chats. And if you guys have questions, fire up the super chats. The super chats go to pay it forward. We're going to be doing some really neat stuff with first responders pretty quick here. I might be going and helping promote a first responder podcast pretty quick here with one of our members. So I will get into all of that. Appreciate you. You know who you are. We had a nice talk the other day. So again, our love for the first responders in the military is real, and we appreciate you guys supporting them. We've added a lot of new members to BuckeyeScoop.com, and they've been very, very excellent additions to our membership. So if you guys are not members of BuckeyeScoop.com, I would join now. We're going to have a lot of nice outings that'll be exclusive to BuckeyeScoop.com members that I'd love you guys to be a part of, including a golf outing. So if you guys would like to be a part of that, join BuckeyeScoop.com. And I think you guys will have a blast, and you get to know each other, and it'll be a really good time. So with that being said, Nevada, Derek Harmon is a fourth-year junior from Michigan State. He entered the transfer portal last December, visited Ohio State and Larry Johnson. I think that, they were auditing, Tyleik. Was Tyleik going to take off? And Tyleik stayed. But he's a veteran guy. He's 6'5", 320, big-bodied guy. Active guy, 40 tackles last year, led all defensive linemen at Michigan State. In the interior, a guy that I would love to add, again, I'm not sure where his mind is. I'm sure when he's got that kind of production, he's probably wanting a guaranteed starting spot. But, at defensive line and defensive tackle, I don't think that being a starter there, it's not like being a quarterback or being an offensive lineman where they don't rotate. Like the D line rotates pretty prolifically. And I think that, for Ty Leak and for Ty Hamilton, I would welcome Derek Harmon with open arms and say, look, let's do the Trey Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, the timeshare thing will make us all better. It's a long season. Guys, you can write this in ink. People will get hurt this year because it is a very long season. You need depth. And I think just for the longevity of the team and the program in the season, adding another really good defensive tackle would be huge. And I think that that's why Ohio State had very big interest in him. I mean, he visited last year. So all of a sudden, like when a guy is on campus, he decided to go back to Michigan State. And then, obviously he's back in the portal now. I think there'd be some interest there. What say you about Derek Harmon? Again, he's a kid that, he's interesting. He's a redshirt junior, so you'd get him for 1 to 2 years. If he balled out and went pro, great. But, we'd reap the rewards of that. But in all likelihood, he's a 2-year guy. Your thoughts on Derek Harmon?
Well, when his name first kind of popped up, my first thing was to reach out to the agent and specifically Derek Harmon's agent, to kind of find out what his thought process was. And what he told me was he was looking for kind of a complementary situation in that, his particular position was that as a defensive player, you're only as good as the players around you. And for him, he was trying to get into a spot that starting wasn't necessarily the most important thing to him. It was to play around other really good players, be put in a position to succeed. He felt that if he wasn't around other really good players, that he wouldn't, enhance his draft status nearly to the amount that he'd want to. He said a lot of nice things about Ohio State. So we'll see if Ohio State's interested. But to your point about guys getting injured, I mean, that is an absolute given. This year is going to be a war of attrition unlike any other. And for Ohio State, having complementary pieces, having guys that can come in, having guys that can back up these starters, they're going to be rotating the starters a heck of a lot more than they've ever done before under Ryan Day. And having pieces like this would just nice. I mean, they'd just be nice to have guys that can step in, play at a high level, so you don't have those kind of calamitous drops in production, especially on the interior defensive line. So I think it's something that Ohio State's, I think there's mutual interest. We'll see if they can make a marriage or not. But yeah, I wanted to go to the larger issue, which seems to be some sort of a real problem going on at Michigan State now. In it, we know that that program's kind of been in a lot of turmoil, and the foibles of the Mel Turner, the previous coach, are kind of well documented. But it seems like they're going through another kind of exodus of players, and you just kind of wonder when the wheel of awful is going to stop spinning up there, because Michigan State can't seem to keep their guys. They can't seem to keep that program together, and not that I'm not a Michigan State fan. I'm a fan of anybody who beats Michigan. So I'd like Michigan State to be a little bit better. But boy, that program seems to be heading in the wrong direction. And hey, that could be to Ohio State's benefit. That certainly could be to Ohio State benefits in this situation and in 2024. But you really have to wonder what's going on up at Michigan State, and if they're ever going to kind of get that once proud program back on the right footing.
Yeah, I think it's. Michigan State it's an interesting program. I think Mark D'Antonio did a fabulous job there. Nick Saban obviously beat Ohio State in '98, did a great job there. But I think that when you're always the number 2 in your state behind, because Michigan is far and away, they're the S tier top program in the state by a country mile. All the kids in the state of Michigan, unless your dad played at Michigan State, they want to play at Michigan. And Ohio State doesn't have that problem because all of our other schools are MAC schools. So nobody dreams of playing for Bowling Green or Akron or Kent State. They all dream of being a Buckeye. So you can sweep the state pretty easy when you're the Ohio State Buckeyes. But yeah, I think Michigan State, they overachieved. They stuck up on people. They developed well. Again, they were never a threat in recruiting. I think the only recruit that they ever beat us on in 20 years was like William Golston, who plays for the Buccaneers. He's had a nice career. Wasn't a great college player, but he's turned into a pretty above average NFL player, gotten paid a bunch of times, won a Super Bowl. But we never consider them a threat. Like if kid out of Michigan State offers his best offer, and then we came in, it was it was like who's your girl? Who's the honest girl? The girl that does the honest stuff, Jessica Alba. It's like if you got your high school sweetheart from Maslin Perry High School, and then Jessica Alba walks in and says, "Hey, do you want to be my new prom date?" Like that's what it was like with Ohio State. It was like there wasn't even a question. It was a wrap. But I think that they're always they have to be the tough program. They have to be the team that develops. They have to get the 3-star kids and turn them into 4 and 5-star kids. And they did that with Jack Conklin. Obviously, Kirk Cousins is one of the great stories of Michigan State football, where he's made a fortune in the NFL. As a guy that was probably is obviously under recruited based on what he's done in the league. But I think that when a kid like this is a potential captain-ish type kid, fourth year guy, he's been in the program for a while. Again, it's funny, the photo on top of their thing is him sacking CJ, which that seems like an attorney gun. Thayer's playing tackle there with the 75 on, but I don't know. Like I think that some of these kids are chasing money, and I think some of these kids are chasing winning. And some are probably chasing a combination of both. And I think for a kid like him, to me, again, Ohio State hosted this kid, so they thought enough of his film. They played against him. He had 4 tackles against us last year, so it wasn't like a massive disruptor. But when you're a defensive tackle, like 4 tackles is actually a pretty good day. Obviously, you want to throw a sack in there, but sacks are kind of temperamental. Especially when we've beaten the brakes off Michigan State the last few years, so it hasn't really been a game, but I don't know. He's intriguing, and as much as people have consternation about the starting 5th offensive lineman, whether it's starting right tackle, starting right guard in the portal, with the other guys basically written in ink. And honestly, I feel like there's 4 guys in ink, and then there's probably Carson Hinsman in a hard pencil, like a number 2 pencil, like when you took the ACT. But I think McLaughlin is probably locked in at center. And then I think you've got, obviously Donnie and Josh Jackson, Jimmy Simmons is playing left tackle. And then Josh Fryer, we have too many Joshes, is probably locked in at right guard or tackle. Gun to my head today, he's the right tackle. Carson Hinsman is the right guard. And then Luke Montgomery's the 6th guy that has to back up, everywhere on both sides. But I think that, in terms of, a starting offensive lineman or depth at defensive tackle specifically are 2 things that I worry about probably more than I should. And maybe if you got a veteran like a Kyle Ford to come in and be a 3rd or 4th wide receiver, again, because Brandon Innes, was injured all spring. JJ is a freshman. The season's long. So for JJ, who we all have like astronomically high hopes for, like we think he'll be the first pick in the draft in 3 years, the college season is incredibly long when you come from high school. You come from high school, you play 10-game regular season, playoffs, you're done by, Thanksgiving usually. Unless you go to the state title game, then you're done, December 1st. But in college, these guys are played up until like mid to late January. So it's all different now. So like, can JJ keep it up for that whole time? I think he can, but I think getting used to it is tough, and counting on a true freshman is tough, even if he is maybe the most talented true freshman we've ever had at Ohio State. So, but D tackle is something where I think you need, another guy. I don't know if Tywin Malone's ready for the prime time. And are the young guys ready? Or Cade McDonald, Hero Canoe, are they ready to rock? Because this kid's played. This guy's, in the video here, you see him sacking CJ Stroud. CJ's got the ball in his hand, and he's taking him to the ground. So, again, like this guy's played, obviously versus good players, good teams, and he's been productive. So, if we could get this kid, I think it would be great. But again, I never know what kids want to be promised or what they want from a financial standpoint with NIL. Because some of these kids, they have these expectations that are just completely insane versus what their actual market rate is. So that's the thing that is the wild card and the multiplier with this thing, where I don't know if this kid wants, X and Ohio State's rolling down for Y. And if he's just, wants to secure the little mini bag, or if he wants to actually go win something with Ohio State. So it'll be fascinating. But again, he visited us in December. So I'm excited about him. Nevada, any other thoughts on Derek Harmon?
I don't know, I just think these are the kind of complementary pieces I think Ohio State should be looking at right now. I don't think they need to make these big macro moves. I think it's about these little micro pieces that can kind of help out. And while I'm always wary of the transfer portal in terms of bringing guys in just to bring them in, and I do think that's an issue. I just think because we're dealing with human beings, and anytime you're bringing in somebody into the position group, and if they're not a clear upgrade of whoever you have in the room, you risk your culture, you risk guys transferring. There's a lot of things that kind of go on, but having established veterans that can come in and help and they can earn their not and again, I don't mean to bag on the kid, but he's gone, so I'll bag on him here, but not Victor Cutlers. So not guys that you bring in that can never play, that you pay money to, and you're left asking yourself, why in the world did we do that? But if you can bring in a guy who can actually provide minutes and can help Ohio State kind of get there, man, I'm all about that, because the challenge of 2024 is such a huge one. But hey, somebody's got to win it. Somebody's got to survive this war of attrition. These 17 weeks or 16 16 games, 17 games of pure terror at the end of the year. So Ohio State is best positioned to do it, but you can never have enough complementary pieces. And a guy like this, whether it's him specifically or someone else like him, I think these are the types of pieces Ohio State should be going after. And I know they're the kind of pieces that Ohio State is strongly considering.
Yeah, and again, he's a kid that this kid's he's a lot easier of an evaluation than Victor Cutler is, because Victor Cutler played Louisiana Monroe or Louisiana Lafayette, like one of the small Louisiana schools, and they played bad teams. Like he was Sun Belt player, and Derek Harmon played Michigan, so turn that tape on. Four tackles versus Michigan, and Ohio State 4 tackles, so 3 tackles versus Penn State. So again, are those overwhelmingly incredible? Is that Aaron Donald? Obviously not. But you got to see how a guy like this holds up in the run, because he's 6'5", 320. So he's a big dude. He's a big body, and he's a guy that's going to be physical, and he's a guy that could give you some valuable snaps. Because again, behind Tyleek and Ty Hamilton, like, it's all question marks. Is it Hero? Is it Caden? I mean, there's a lot of young guys in there. And again, could they turn up and be amazing? Of course. But, to have one more veteran, because I think that they were hoping Tywone Malone would be further along than he is. And I don't know how physical he is versus the run. And again, in college football, stopping the run is still paramount. Obviously, it's a throw fest now in all levels of football. But, you need guys like Derek Harmon who can stop the run. And you could rotate him. Like if you said, Kirk, if you add this kid, where's he at in the depth chart? He's the first guy off the bench every game. And he's probably playing, I would say he's probably playing equal snaps with Ty Hamilton and Tyleek. And that's the one. If I was Larry Johnson and I was recruiting Derek, I'd say, look, here's the deal. You want to play on a D-line. Look at our offense. Look at our offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, Will Howard, Trey. These guys are going to score 50 points a game. So if you want to get your chances to rush the passer, then this is one of those things where you're going to have an actual, it'll be like the killing fields, because, we're going to be scoring a lot of points, doing a lot of damage, getting after it in a major way. And we need guys like you to get upfield and disrupt and get off that guard and go get after the quarterback. And if I'm this kid, I'm just like, that sounds like heaven on earth, because, he's been living in the opposite of heaven. He's been playing at Michigan State, where they suck on offense. They're always losing. They're always behind the score. So, when you're losing, teams run the ball on you. When you're winning, teams have to throw the ball. So you don't get your opportunities to rush the passer. And again, you could ask every D lineman who's ever lived, every D tackle, D end. Go ask them again. Go ask your son or the son's best friend that plays D end or D tackle. Do you want to play the run or the pass? Where they'll all say, I want to play the pass. Why? Because he gets to go get sacks. And what happens when guys get sacks? They make first team All-American. They get paid. They make a fortune in the NFL if you can get to the quarterback. So, when you're on a bad team, it's hard to do that, because teams are always they're always running the ball to grind the clock out. So I like this kid. I'm excited about him. we'll see if we can get this thing done and if the NIL can step up. But again, I don't know what this kid wants, but again, if I'm any of these kids hitting the portal right now and I see the freight train that is Ohio State with the roster they have, I don't know how you would not want to be a part of that because again, like on D line, like you're gonna, in a dream scenario for Larry Johnson, he'd love to play 8 to 10 guys every game, rotate them in, keep guys fresh, long season. His nightmare is playing Jack Sawyer and JT every step. Tyleek, Mike Hall got hurt down the stretch. Tyleek was dinged up. He'd like to rotate these guys through and get a lot of guys experience, get them a lot of them good snaps. Well, Nevada, any thoughts? And we're gonna jump into some super chats.
Well, why don't we talk a little bit about the NCAA? I know the NCAA's there's some contemplation regarding a rule. We've talked about this before about analysts doing on-field coaching. And I wanted to say one thing, okay? Tom Mars, the lawyer who's done a lot of the eligibility cases, he was kind of like the NCAA guy. He's become kind of a clown, and he came out with some statement today going, they're changing the rule about NCAA stuff, and Michigan just got hit for having analysts. Well, because it was against the rules, you moron. It'd be like us complaining today, putting out kids are getting stuff, and Ohio State got in trouble for kids getting benefits. It's like, well, dude, that was the rules. That was the rules. Yeah, you can point out the irony of the situation, but to complain about it, it's like, come on, dude. You have to play under the rules that are, at the time. Those were the rules. If you violate them, you get sanctioned. That's the way that it's supposed to be. And stop complaining about it. I think this rule change that's potentially coming up for Ohio State is absolutely humongous. I think Ohio State's really well positioned to take, advantage of it. I think some of the analysts that Ohio State has are first rate, and to be able to have them be involved, not under the cloud of darkness or subterfuge, to be actually involved in on-field coaching, I think it's going to be a real benefit. I think it's going to be a real benefit to all the haves, and I think it's going to make the gap between the haves and the have-nots even wider. And is that good for football? I don't know. Is it good for Ohio State? Absolutely. Am I an Ohio State fan? No question. So I'm not sure if long-term it's the best thing for the sport, but as a Buckeye fan, I love it because I'll take every advantage we can get.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's gonna be really interesting to see how it all goes. Again, I think that adding Tim Drevno as your second offensive line coach will be huge. I think that when you can add some guys that are veteran coaches that have coached at a high level. Tim Drevno is a perfect fit for our staff, just because when you've got a guy that knows, he was Chip Kelly's offensive line coach. Obviously, when Chip left, Deshaun Foster, he went with Juan Castillo, who I've known Juan for a long time. It was a very easy fit to get Tim Drevno in here, and the fact that you can kind of have a second offensive line coach, leading, behind Justin Frye, I think it's huge. Again, most NFL teams have two. They've got two guys. They have the headline coach, and then a lot of teams, if you look at the NFL, the coaching staffs, they have a second guy who usually is a guy who's been a headline coach somewhere in the league somewhere. So again, when you're coaching 15, 16, 17 guys, it helps to have that second guy. Obviously, you also have Mike Salini, the GA. But having three guys when you've got 18 guys to coach, it's a huge deal. It's a big deal. I think it's going to be a huge edge for Ohio State, especially with developing the young guys. Because really, there's times where an extra set of eyes never hurts. And plus, it gives you more incentive to fill your bullpen up. Because with that bullpen, there's always attrition in the coaching staff, and it's not always a bad thing. Because again, I'm not going to mention names because then everybody gets all in a cluster when I say this coordinator could leave or this coordinator could leave. But like if you're successful, like if we win a national championship, some of our young coaches are going to be very hot commodities on the coaching market because every athletic director wants to bring that kind of magic into their into their program. So again, like Nick Saban dealt with this for since 2007, for 16 years, as good as anybody in the history of college football, where he would have Lane Kiffin on staff as an analyst. He would have Steve Sarkisian on staff as an analyst. So when, whoever his coordinator was that would get poached, he'd have a guy who was already in the building, who he already could audit and vet. Because that's the most important thing for like a guy like Ryan Day, is that, when you've got a guy in the building and you see how he works, you see how he knows the kids, he already knows the offense. If Justin Fry if the Indiana coach gets fired tomorrow, the new Indiana coach, or Purdue's coach gets fired, whoever, and Justin Fry is a hot candidate somewhere, then you've got a line coach who you're familiar with, and he already knows the players. You've already seen him work. He knows the playbook. So, there's a lot of great things that can come from everything when you've got these guys in the building. And again, I think it's important to be able to see these guys coach, because I think it helps Ryan Day. I think because, in the old world of actually following the rules, which Ohio State loves to follow the rules more than anybody, the quality control coach can't coach. Like Joe Philbin, by letter of the law, could not legally coach last year, like during the practices, and it's insanity. Like when I was a quality control coach, man, it sucked. We were, I had to stand on the sideline the first year, and I begged to become a graduate assistant so I could actually coach. And there was no limiters. You could be on the field, you could be instructing. And that first spring, I switched to GA, and it was a whole different ball of wax, because you're hands on and you're not just standing there. And being a quality control coach is like a special kind of hell for guys that really like to, coach things up and fix things and help guys. And because you got to stand there and chart plays or run the scout team, and it's not anywhere near as good. But I think this is going to be a huge benefit for Ohio State. It's going to benefit the teams that have big payrolls, the teams that have big staffs, because you can go find some guys and pay them a little bit of money, and again, just kind of build up your bullpen, because the bullpen is going to be really critical going forward for Ohio State if they start rolling up national championships, because our coaching staff's going to get poached. That's just the natural progression of coaches, where these guys all want to be head coaches. Urban Meyer used to always say, I want everyone in my room to be a head coach. They should want to be a head coach. If you don't want to be a head coach, I want to fire you, because he wants to add that kind of ambition. So I'm excited about it. But yeah, it'll be that's gonna be an interesting thing. Yeah, and Tom Mars was very interesting with that. I don't know, but it's interesting. So he got his Justin Fields eligibility, but it was kind of surprising that he's coming after Michigan with that kind of thing, because it would be no different than coming after a football program that's like serving meals and having snacks available 24 hours a day now, where, when I coached in 2012, which wasn't that long ago, like you couldn't give kids snacks. You couldn't give kids like certain amounts of protein. Like we lived in like the most insane time ever, 10, 12 years ago. And now it's like the kids they get meals, they can take food home, they can take extra snacks home. So, again, like that was literally illegal 10 years ago, 12 years ago. So, if Tom Mars said, well, now you're upset about it, but, rules change in college football. Again, the biggest rule of all time that's changed is NIL, where you literally weren't allowed to give kids anything, any money, whatever. And now it's the Wild West. Nevada, any thoughts? And we'll get into some super chats.
No, Tom Mars is such a lackey for Harbaugh. I know he's representing Harbaugh now, but it's just, have some credibility, man. It's like, have some credibility. And I was always interested in, there's guys that you formerly like respected or looked up to, or that, you respected their views, just kind of leave the reservation. But yeah, his stuff was wacky, but hey, that's Tom Mars. Tom Mars he sold out to the man. So everybody does that at some point. The only person I want to do it is Burt Carton, man. Burt Carton will not dance for the man. Burt Carton he's not going to bow the knee, man. He's going to stand strong.
No.
Michigan fan.
Again, you see I'm a Michigan man. I'm a proud Michigan man.
You are a proud Michigan
that.
man.
People believe that too.
I'm going to keep putting that out there, man. It's going to be on your gravestone. 4-time winner, All-American Michigan man.
Well, you know what it's like? It's like when you play Civilization and you conquer another civ and you take their capital city and it becomes your city and it's got your colors around
you
it.
take their
Like
culture.
that's
You take their culture.
that's what Ann Arbor is like for me. That's what it feels like. I was like, that's like part of my turn. I've annexed that city state into my culture where they don't exist anymore. They're under Barton. They're under the Barton domain, which I love. So again, I don't look at it through the same lens you do.
You're like Mother Teresa from Austria. It's like you those annexations and stuff like that.
You're like Gandhi dropping nukes on everybody at the end of the game. Like Gandhi. I love the people on Civ because they program Gandhi to be like a warmonger, which is hilarious. But I've read Art of War too many times. Here we go, Nevada. Show of Steel Workhouse, my guy, who's in the group text that is easily the largest group text in the history of mankind. Thanks for the dues. Thanks for being an ultra member, my man. Also, thank you for the knife. The knife is always gas. Appreciate you, my man. What is the best bladed weapon for Wolverines? Ooh. See, I would say a shish kebab. A shish kebab, easily. Now, for those of you who, for those of you that don't play,
has anybody ever eaten? Can you eat Wolverine?
I don't know. I mean, someone's got to know. Like, if one guy's gonna know if you can eat Wolverine, it's got to be Devin. Like Devin, Devin goes out in the Everglades and like walks around like naked, and he grabs like pythons and strangles them and wears them as like it turns them into boots, and he tackles everybody that sees an alligator runs from an alligator. Devin like runs to the alligator and strangles it, and he carries it over his head and he jackknife power bombs it and stuff. So if anyone would know, Devin is the guy that would know if you can eat a Wolverine. Now, I don't know. Again, I've never thought to eat a Wolverine, but like I've never thought to eat an alligator either. But people are just like, people are crazy. And again, I'm not.
They do that.
Yeah, I don't know, a shish kebab. So a shish kebab, I've been on this Fallout kick since the show dropped, and like the shish kebab is like the flaming sword. So that's what I would use in Fallout New Vegas. Like you get the shish kebab that lights on fire, and I'd use that to carve up a Wolverine real nice. But otherwise, I think you could just use a sword, shof. I mean, whatever you're making Devin, because I'm sure Devin's getting some like $65,000 sword from you that's made out of diamonds and it's got alligator teeth in it and stuff. So that would probably work, I would think. But I don't know. Like I go shish kebab from Fallout 4. What would you pick, Nevada? A bladed weapon to kill a Wolverine? Because they're fast, but they can't jump because they're kind of like little pigs, right?
Yeah, I'd use like one of those like the Darth Sidious like double-sided like lightsabers or something like that. But something like something long with like the big point on it that could kind of get in there. But I want to know if you can eat them. I want to know if anybody's ever eaten Wolverine, and if it does taste like chicken, or if that's like a protected species and you're not supposed to eat them. See, this is the kind of stuff that I really want to know.
This is when you guys, this is what you call off-season topic, Buckeye Scoop podcast. Can you eat a Wolverine? I imagine you could fry it. I mean, if you fry it, it's probably going to be like,
But is that against the law?
I don't know. That is a good question. Okay. Iowa Buck, thank you for the 5. Appreciate it, man. As a police officer, I really thank you for your support. We appreciate you guys. Any word on any other potential transfer outs? I mean, the hard part for me, and again, this is just me reading the room, the tea leaves, talking to people in the Woody Hayes, is like, you'd think if guys were going to get out, they'd already be out by now. Because it's not like the market's going to get hotter like the late, because the window is only a couple weeks. So if I'm getting out, like I'm getting out the first minute it opens, and I'm going, again, like Cedric Hawkins. Cedric Hawkins, obviously, nice, really nice kid, South Florida Express kid. Wish him well. He's out, and he's at Central Florida like a day later, committed, game over. And honestly, like that's the way to do it. Like if you're gonna go somewhere, you got to go where you wanted. Go where I'm sure he didn't get any money at Central Florida, but he's got a better opportunity there. He was really deep on the depth chart here, but I haven't heard any. Because again, like I know that this is a time where Ryan Day and Mickey Marotti have got to be at their absolute best, because these kids have like 3.5 weeks off. Like they have their last finals are like this week, and then they have a 3-week break. So guys can go home Miami, anywhere they want to go kick it. And I'm sure Mickey's going to be sending them workout plans and making them take videos of them weighing in on a scale. But, I would think that we might be out of the woods, but there's been a big jump of guys. Now here's the thing. This is the thing that deletes everything I've just said. If we get someone out of the portal, like if we get this defensive tackle out of the portal from Michigan State, which, I'd say there's an okay chance, but not a great chance we get him, then could that drive some D tackle on our roster who is upset he's been pushed down the depth chart into the portal? Sure. But, we haven't been active in the portal at all. We didn't even reach out to the kicker who won the Groza Award at all. So I don't know. Like again, I think that the roster, it feels pretty stable right now, but I think that if someone jumps into the portal, then all of a sudden, or if we go portal shopping and bring somebody in and somebody gets, upset, like again, Colorado they lost a tailback last week, and then Dallin Hayden shows up and they had two more guys jump into the portal today. So, is Dallin Hayden worth your starting running back and then your next running back jumping in the portal? Maybe he's a big upgrade, but that's kind of the law of unintended consequences. It happens with the transfer portal in literally today's game of college football. Because this isn't like NFL free agency where you can go sign a star running back and then the guys behind them they go from starter to second, the second team guy and then the third down guy and whatever. If you go get Dallin Hayden, man, you might anger some of those guys and they jumped in the portal and got out of there. So, I don't know and again, I don't care about Colorado football at all, but that's it's just an example of the law of unintended consequences that comes with playing the portal game. So again, we feel pretty stable. I don't think that there's any guys out there that would dramatically upgrade the roster outside of the kicker, who is the one guy that I was praying we'd get. I check every day for you guys, because I know you guys are obsessed with the offensive tackle situation, which makes me happy because I was offensive tackle. So I had no idea you guys love tackles that much until I've actually had to scout these guys. But none of the guys in the portal right now that are playing offensive tackle or even guard are guys that I would consider starting at Ohio State that wouldn't turn into absolute message board fodder. As in, you guys would hate them and they'd be the new whipping boys of BuckeyeScoop.com, because I could already see it. So I think the roster is in good shape right now. Now, again, if we go out and get somebody, then it can all go into flux. But I feel kind of like that's where we're at, because we had Dallin and Cedric jump in the portal, and Dallin I totally get. We get Quinshawn, who's much better than Dallin. He's been lied to and jerked around for 2 years. I get jumping into the portal, and Cedric I do too, because he was way behind, and he didn't get much reps with the ones. Jaden Bonds, who was ahead of him, and that was without Lathan, and that was without Malik Hartford. So when those guys get back, he's going to be even further down the depth chart. He'll be a scout teamer next year for us. So I don't blame him for going to Central Florida. Nevada, your thoughts? For one, Iowa Buck, appreciate your service as a police officer. You guys have a very difficult job, especially in the modern climate, which is ridiculous. But we appreciate what you guys do. I think it's the hardest job in the entire world. I'm not kidding. You guys have to deal with some really terrible stuff. So we support you guys and we appreciate you. Nevada, any word on any other potential transfer outs?
Ohio State thinks they're done. Ohio State thinks they're done. Your point was spot on. These are the moves if you're going to make that you generally make early. There's no benefit to waiting. There's no really word from anybody inside of Ohio State that they're looking at anybody to leave. Like you said, could it change if you got a player in, or if you got a couple of more guys in? Certainly it's always subject to change. But I really think this second portal season in general for college football hasn't been anywhere near. It's kind of like the weatherman, when the weatherman comes out and he's like, "Oh my God, this weekend it's going to be torrential rain and flooding," and then you go out there on Saturday and it's 68 degrees and sunny, and you're like, man, you kind of missed on this one. Well, a lot of people were predicting that this was going to be the worst portal season ever, and it was going to be chaos. And I didn't know what it was going to be like, because it was the first time that the collectives and the colleges could work together on kids. But it's been a really quiet portal season for Ohio State. I thought that they would lose 10 guys, and it's been a trickle. But I really do think Ohio State's done or near next to done. And I'd be surprised if we saw anything at all, frankly, let alone anything of consequence. Nothing of consequence is going to happen. But if anything at all happened, I'd be somewhat surprised.
Yeah, I totally agree. Shove, I'm going to go back to your super chat. Best bladed weapon to kill Wolverines is a sword that you made. So this is Devin's sword. It says "Go Bucks" on the handle, which is absolutely hilarious. And that is a big sword, dude. So Devin is going to kill probably I mean, the alligator is going to be extinct when Devin's done with him. He'll be like Fallout. He'll have all the alligator hides. He'll look like Mad Max. It'll be great. So, Chef, that is awesome. Thank you for sending me that in the middle of the show. But that is absolutely hilarious. And that is a beautiful piece of equipment. Sloth Nations, thank you for the 10. Kirk, would you say this transfer portal cycle has been pretty calm? For Ohio State, it's been very calm, I think. Nevada, did you see the court ruling with Florida State yesterday? Any timeline till they settle and exit? Hope everything is going well with you both. Appreciate you, my man. I think it has been pretty calm. You know, again, the coaches are excellent at playing the transfer portal like game with these kids because they do exit meetings in December. They do exit meetings after spring ball. After December, they say, hey, just give us through spring. You know, let's see how you do. You're right there. You're going to be in contention. We're going to give you time in these packages. You're going to be with the twos and the ones, and you know, we're going to develop you, blah, blah, blah. And then like, if they do that, great. And then if they don't do that and they're still in the same kind of rut, they get done with spring and they do the exit meetings and they're just like, yeah, but if you leave now, you're not going to get to, you know, you're going to be behind all the kids that were there for spring and all the early enrollees. And, you're not going to know the plays. And you're going to show up to camp and you're not going to have practice with them. And you're going to be behind the eight ball even further. So you should stick it out the season. We're going to be good. So, and the coaches have an answer to every possible scenario for these kids to keep them on the roster. And again, kudos to them because it's like I always say, depth is an illusion in modern college football. And the fact that we have this team, knock on wood, with this much depth, it's literal insanity. I mean, in terms of our corner safeties, receivers, running backs. So we just got to hang on to them as best we can. But I like where we're headed. And I think the coaches are doing a good job of being honest with the kids, but also, giving them some love, keeping their minds right. Because, these kids are they're impossibly impressionable where they always compare themselves to other kids on other rosters who might be in their same class, might be in their same age. Oh, this kid, he had 750 yards last year. I only had 10 or 50 or 100. And, if I go to this place, then I could, be the starter and whatever. And it's like, you got to clear that noise out when you're the coaching staff and say, guys, like, look, we want to develop you. We want to make you great. And you want to be on a program where, the development has been incredible over the last, 20 years or so since, even through Coop. I mean, obviously through Coop. I mean, Coop had Orlando Pace go 1 overall. And you look at, Thursday night at the draft, you'll have Marvin go top 5-ish or so, probably 4 to the Cardinals. But I think, the way that we've kept the roster intact is it's a great victory for Ryan Day and his coaching staff and having a really comprehensive message to not just the players, but the parents. Because the parents, because we have NIL now, they all have agents now. And it's like you let the wolf into the hen house. And all of a sudden, man, you got these parents that sometimes they're not as bright as you wish they were. And they get influenced by the wrong factors. And Ohio State's been able to circumvent a lot of that, which has been great. Nevada, your thoughts, and you can touch on the Florida State thing as well. Do you believe the transfer portal cycle has been calm? And did you see the court ruling on FSU? I imagine that has something to do with the ACC and the exit. And any timeline that you believe that FSU will exit the ACC?
Yeah, I mean, I talked earlier how I thought, this has been a really, unusually calm period. It is a tough time. It's a tough time, to leave. We were lucky to get Jimmy Simmons last year. And, people forget he wasn't even part of our program at this time last year. And to get him in that second portal season was really kind of a plum, because there's not a lot of plums that are coming up at this time. As for the ACC, you guys have had a front row seat. BuckeyeScoop.com, Buckeye Scoop podcast. So you guys know more than 99% of the college football fans out there. But we've told you this many, many times. The ACC is dead. The ACC is they're done. They're gone. They're going the route of the Pac-12. They've now been sent to mediation or whatever it is by the arbiter, between Florida State and the ACC to try to mediate out of the situation. So it's just a negotiation at this point. Florida State is gone from the ACC. Florida State will be joining the Big Ten, and once that happens, it's just going to be a free-for-all, because all heck is going to break loose with ACC, where everybody's going to be jumping, looking for a lifeboat, and you're going to see lots of teams, including Notre Dame, come into play. So I think it's going to be a very exciting time to be an Ohio State fan, a fan of the Big Ten, and it's like a buffet where you're going in there, and the ACC is on sale now, and the Big Ten's going to go in there and pick out which ones they want. And I think Florida State's right at the top of the heap, and I fully expect them to finish this up here in the next 90 days with the ACC, and then shortly after that announce a move to the Big Ten.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic. And for Kim's sake, I hope Florida State joins, because then I'll actually have a reason to go to Doak Campbell. She doesn't want me to go to a game there. And I was like, no, we have to podcast. So we don't get to go to no games. We get to be podcasting, because if not, the masses will riot, because they want to know what's going on in the game. So Sloth Nations, again, thank you for the 5. Victor Cutler is a name I haven't heard in a while. Can one of y'all explain to me how that all went down? Like, why Ohio State took a flyer? Nevada, do you want to take this one first, or you want me to? Because I feel like I've been talking a lot, so I just want to. You want me to do it?
No, but you were born to talk about Victor Cutler, so I'm gonna give this.
Oh my God, you were born to eat London broil and walk down to Gordon Ramsay's. I know you were.
No.
Or is it London broil or beef Wellington? Beef Wellington.
It's beef Wellington, man. Beef Wellington.
Same thing. I don't know.
No,
I eat
cheeseburgers
and steaks, man. I mean, that's what I do. So
I ate at Wahlburgers last night, so that shows you how high end I am.
How was it? Was it good?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Was it? Like, I mean, would you go back, or is it like you're just saying that just to be kind and the kind, gentle Nevadabuck that you are?
It actually was really good. I enjoyed it.
Okay, good. All right. So Victor Cutler was an interesting one. So he played tackle. And here's the thing. I'm just going to do this now. I'm going to look up where he went to college before he got here. I feel like it was Louisiana Monroe, but it's going to drive me nuts if I sit here and say Louisiana Lafayette. Monroe. Okay, so he was from Louisiana Monroe, played tackle, 6'3", 300. I mean, again, that's a very, very short tackle in college football. So I watched this film last year, wasn't good, which was, I try to be positive, because maybe they have some film that I don't have. I don't have all of the reels of Louisiana Monroe game tape. So maybe they saw some dynamic thing that I didn't see. But, they took this kid. They felt like they needed depth on the O-line. He showed up. He got a nice chunk of change, like a chunk of change from the NIL collective that made me, I think, physically ill when I heard how much he got for how bad he was. It made me, and again, I don't go back. And I always say, I'm not going to be an old head. And as soon as I say that, I'm instantly going to turn into an old head. But I was like, that's what that guy got on the market. Holy cow. I mean, but anyways, so he shows up here and he, goes through spring mildly competitive, and he doesn't win. He doesn't win the job. He's kind of behind the 8 ball. Josh Simmons shows up, who's a million times better than he is. Carson Hinsman obviously wins the center position. And, he was competing with Carson to be the starting center. And when he got beat out, he basically just took his foot off the gas for the rest of the season, what I was told. He basically was chilling, coasting, didn't work hard, was lazy. It was kind of basically, what they like to say is checked out. He was checked out for the season after he lost the job. Cause and it's hard. You go from being a starter, even if it's at a little small program like Louisiana Monroe, to being a starter at Ohio, to being a backup at Ohio State, it still sucks, So I think he he got the bag, and then when he figured out that he wasn't ever going to play here, he went to Louisville and he got another bag. So he's played the game right, where he got no mileage on his body because he played probably 50 plays last year, and was kind of checked out. But he was a bad take. And again, when there's money involved, even if it's not yours and it's collective's money, like there's a scoreboard inside the Woody Hayes about who do we allot money to, how do they pan out, how do they react to getting the money. And this was like an F for Mark Pantoni, Justin Fry, all the guys that did the evaluating on this kid. Because, again, somebody has to sign their name to this kid and say, hey, we want this kid. We think he's worth it. Then they got to go call the foundation and 1870 Society and say, hey, we need, X amount of dollars to get this kid. He'll help us, blah, blah, blah. And so then all of a sudden when he's just, atrocious, and then he's checked out, then it's like the tab comes due, as Nevada likes to say. And so, you gotta, like I said, at Ohio State, they grade everything, and that includes the coaches. So you get graded on recruiting, you get graded on how proficient you are in the transfer portal, you get graded on your evaluations, even of guys that you don't get. So, this was one that was obviously an F because he showed up, he stunk. And again, I watched this film and I thought he stunk. So again, I was like, maybe these guys, I need new contacts. Maybe I need LASIK. Maybe I need to get LASIK and put contacts in over the LASIK to see this kid, but I didn't see it. So, obviously he got out of here. He knew that, he was, they bring in Seth McLaughlin. That's a big upgrade over him. And now he's at Louisville. And the funny thing is, like, the portal opened like last week, and there's a rumor they had like 4 offensive linemen hit the portal, and he was one of them initially, and then he jumped back into the Louisville roster. But I mean, it's like this kid's like a fruit fly. If he's already jumped back in the portal potentially from Louisville again, then it's just like this kid's gonna try to play the game, but I don't think that never really ends well with offensive linemen. Nevada, do you have anything to add to Victor Cutler and what went down?
No, just that's a bad move. And I think those are the kind of moves that you make in the portal that kill you. And I don't want to be over dramatic, but you do stuff like that. You talk about the stuff that can affect the culture, and bringing in kids, paying them a bunch of money, and they can't play. It doesn't get much worse than that. And what kind of message does it send to because every guy in the offensive line room, every one of them knows the Victor Cutler story. They know how much he got paid. They know he was recruited in. They know he couldn't play. And they're all sitting there looking at him and saying, because some of those guys, most of those guys haven't gotten a dime. They got virtually nothing. And Cutler got the bag. So when you want a bag on the offensive line, you want to say, oh, the offensive line stinks, this, and that. Man, think about how those guys feel. They're like, man, we're in there busting it. They bring this guy in who can't play, and they throw all the money at him. It would hard to imagine a more disheartening type of situation than that. But that was bad. And as many good things as Ohio State has done in these past offseason, this was a previous offseason move, but I'm not sure F's a low enough grade for that. There's got to be a grade lower than F. And whatever it is, that's what they get for the Cutler move.
Like, is there is incomplete count? Like incomplete or
like
kicked out of the college forever?
double secret probation or whatever it is. Terrible.
Not discouraged. You're literally banned for that one.
You're banned. You're gone. You're gone.
You're gone. Michael C, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. Buckeye here listening in Cincinnati. I wish you could have helped us with that kicker. That kicker is a good player. Feeling like we missed on the kicker. I absolutely agree with you. Hope we don't take a loss like this year due to wide right. Well, again, like the guy that won the Lou Gross Award is from Cincinnati and he kicked at Miami of Ohio. And we let him go to Alabama. But again, that's me. And again, I'm sure that the wizards in the personnel department at the Woody Hayes know better than I do. But you'd think a guy that won the Groza last year and again, it's one thing to win it when you kick at Bama or LSU and you've got preseason hype and you've got all this other stuff. But when you win it at Miami of Ohio, it's like you actually win the award on merit. You have to be really good because you don't have and again, I know that we have the worst sports information department in the entire country because we don't promote our guys at all. But Miami of Ohio doesn't even have that guy. They don't even have a sports information guy. So when you win a major award at a small school like that, that is really something. So of course we let him just skate out of here and go to Bama, which again, it doesn't matter till it matters. But man, this offense, if you close your eyes, you can imagine a Lou Groza award-winning kicker as the guy that is the guy that we're giving the ball to inside the 35-yard line. I'd feel a lot better. And of course, we did miss a 40-yard field goal in the spring game. Everyone has reminded me of that. But your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, look, the kicker thing, you and I stated our opinion. I mean, we actively tried to save this. We did everything that we could possibly do to get him on the radar with Ohio State. So I know they have a lot of faith in Fielding. I wish that I had as much faith in Fielding as they do, and I hope that Fielding goes on to win the Groza Award this year, and 3-time All-American and kicks field goals from 60 yards and in. But yeah, I think this was a mistake. I think it was a tactical mistake. It happens, but we'll see. Time will tell, and hopefully Ohio State's right and Nevadabuck's wrong. That's what I'm rooting for.
I totally agree. ZZM, what is up, brother? I hope you're doing good. Thank you for the 5. Thanks for being an Ultra member as well. Do I have your permission to have a Burke Carton book character on one of my Malik's cases? Of course. That would be an honor. I think it would be absolutely hilarious as long as you have Nevadabuck in there too. Make him the arch enemy, evil. He's in his ivory tower eating beef Wellingtons every day with regular Coke.
I mean, does anybody not like beef Wellington? Isn't the beef Wellington like the most universally beloved?
I don't think I've ever had it before. Honestly, I honestly have never had it. Never had it.
Whenever I
when
go
we
to
had
Vegas,
it,
I'm having lunch in Vegas, I'm eating beef Wellington. If I'm at a Gordon Ramsay made his career on beef Wellington. Beef Wellington and fish and chips. That's what he made his career on. So if you go to a Gordon Ramsay, either order the fish and chips or order the beef Wellington. This is a pro tip from Nevada. That's what he's famous for.
I mean, I couldn't believe when you ordered that the one time I was with you. It was like 10 in the morning or 10:30 in the morning. I was like, "Is that like a dinner thing?" You're like, "Nope,
no,
it's always dinner in Las Vegas, baby."
Always beef Wellington's always that's a perfect meal.
So yeah, make Nevada like the most evil human being on earth. That'd be great for your book.
Yeah.
And we're not going for field goal kicker at all. I guess not, because if we just had the guy that won the Groza Award and we didn't even lift a finger to reach out and call him or talk to him, then I guess we're not going for field goal kicker, because we had the best kicker in the world in the portal, and he just went to Bama. So again, Bama, which has been, and Bama's not going to be Bama with Saban being gone, but they're still probably a top 10-ish program, I'd say. Without Saban, with Saban, obviously they were top 3-4 program. But yeah, we just let them go. We're not going, and we hope to look at tight end and offensive tackle. But again, it's just what is on the table and what is available. And I look at the offensive tackle portal tracker every single day for you folks, because I know if there's anybody with a pulse who can walk and pass block and chew bubblegum at the same time, then you guys are going to want them. And I haven't seen a guy yet who has this will be a huge upgrade for our offensive line. I promise you, because the second one of those guys jumps in there, guess what our podcast is going to be about that night? That guy. So I haven't seen him yet. I doubt he's getting in. Again, if a guy's ready to roll, he'd have jumped in the first day and he'd have found a home by now. So I don't know. There's no benefit to waiting to jump into the portal, except for more spots get taken and guys get a little bit more settled. So I don't think we're going to see it. And tight end, we took Kaz America. I don't know how many, again, there's taking a body and then there's taking a dude. I don't know how many dudes, because Colson Loveland, he's not going to enter I don't think he's going to enter the portal. If he does, then I would empty every dime that we had in the collectives right now to get that kid, because I think he's fantastic. And the same with some of the offensive tackles that I also don't think are going to enter the portal. So again, that's just my opinion. Nevada, I'm sure you agree that we're not going after field goal kicker if we didn't call the Groza Award winner. And he also, ZZM also mentions he hopes that we look at tight end and offensive tackle. But again, I just don't, it's got to be we didn't even call. I mean, we told Carter Smith thanks, but no thanks. And Carter is better than any guy that's been in the tackle this go round of the portal. Kid for Olentangy Liberty, plays at Indiana, started last year, held up well against JT and Jack, and he entered the portal, and I'm sure he would have came here, but we said no. We said we didn't want him. We had George and Tigra, so we're gonna roll with the ones that we brought here, and kind of is what it is. But your thoughts on us going after a kicker, tight end, or offensive tackle, Nevada?
Well, yeah, I mean, the kicker thing we've talked about, like the tight end and tackle, just, we can't, and I respect the question. So I'm not mocking the question, but it just in general, like we can't just magically wave a wand and make guys there. If guys aren't there, they're not there. And that's the problem with elite tackles is elite tackles are generally okay where they're at. And, if they're not okay with that, they're generally not elite tackles. So it's a real conundrum in terms of trying to find those guys, and that's why it's so hard to get them. It's so hard to find quality guys in that situation, because generally when somebody's leaving, they're leaving for a reason. And Justin Fields was kind of a special situation. That was kind of a bolt from the blue, where you've got a guy that's super talented, but there's another super talented guy playing a position where only one guy plays it, and Georgia decided to go with the other guy. I mean, those are the kind of situations that you can kind of take advantage of. But finding we have a lot of really good offensive tackles in a room. I like Zen. I like George. I like Tigra. Luke could fill in a pinch. Obviously, Josh Fryer was first team All Big Ten last year. Jimmy Simmons, this could be an NFL multi-centimillionaire. But if guys aren't there, they're just not there. And the situation right now is, I'm pretty sure we're playing with the hand that we're dealing with. And I am telling you, I have zero concerns about the offensive line. Zero. Whatever the lowest number you can have, we're going to be fine. I've watched Chip Kelly run up and down the field with guys on the offensive line that would not sniff the 3 deep at Ohio State. And I've watched it for years. I mean, UCLA season ticket holder. I've watched his offense operate. And if he can do it at UCLA with those guys, we know what he did at Oregon. What's he going to do with these guys? I mean, in our room, in the Ohio State offensive line room, I think there's 13 4-stars and 3 5-stars. So it's some ridiculous amount. I mean, UCLA doesn't even get a 4-star. And we've got we stack them like cordwood at Ohio State. So we're going to be fine. Ohio State's going to be fine. And like I said, we've got Kirk Barton on the case. He is scanning the portal availability every single day. He's like a watchman, like an ever vigilant watchman that's out there. So while you're sleeping, know that he's checking the portal every single 23, 24 hours a day. And as far as I know, there's nobody out there that's OSU worthy. And Kirk, if you feel differently, you can chime in. But I don't think there's anybody that's better than the guys we have.
Yeah, and like you guys wonder why I like to have some cold beer sometimes is because I have to sit and look at these turds on film. I got to watch these 3-star guys that are from, or these 4-star washouts that suck. I got to watch their film, and I'm just like, I mean, it is like watching, like I had to write when I was at Ohio State my senior year, I had to write a 50-page paper on the history of ethnic cleansing. That was the subject the professor taught. And it was the most gruesome, terrible thing I've ever, I mean, it was awful to research. And so that's what it's like watching some of these offensive tackles play, because they're so bad. And I'm like, if we offer this kid and he comes to Ohio State and this kid plays 10 plays for us, he'll be in the pantheon of most hated Buckeyes of all time, because you guys all know that there's certain Buckeyes that people just hate because they sucked. They're the whipping boys, and it could be a coordinator. It could be a head coach. A lot of times it's a player, maybe a player that had a bad play, or a lot of bad plays or whatever. But man, there's some whipping boys. And again, there's a lot of time I don't put them out there. I'll talk to Nevada and I'll say, look, this is going to be the whipping boy for this year. These are going to be the offensive players are going to be whipping boys. This is the coach that's going to be the whipping boy. And then sure as can be, like we get into the season and, you know, the message boards and the Twitter sphere and the fan base, they just, oh my God, it's like piranhas eating a cow. It's unbelievable. So I'm telling you, I haven't seen an offensive lineman that can help us yet. I doubt that we will this late into the portal season. And you know, and if a guy does enter, like we're gonna have to pay him, a good number to get him here, which we've been very competitive in that arena. But I just like you said, I don't see that All-American first team dude jumping in the portal this late, skipping spring ball at the school, and then he's got the NFL draft on the line. Like, in that situation, if you're a projected top draft pick, first round pick, offensive tackle, like when you've already gone, if you're at a good program, say you're like the kid from Penn State, Ola Fashu or whatever his name is there, the kid that's going to probably be a top 25 pick tomorrow. Like, why would you leave James Franklin, your offensive line coach, Phil Troutwine, the offense that you already know, the city that you already, have grown up in, and the school's been so good to you, when you know that if you just don't like vomit all over yourself on film this year, you're going to be a first round pick. You're going to be a millionaire. Like, what's the benefit to him hitting the portal and going to Georgia or Bama? Or, because to me, there's nothing but downside. Because all of a sudden you're going to go somewhere, you're not going to know the locker room, you're not going to know your position coach, you're not going to know your head coach, you're not going to know your strength coach, you're not going to know the town. It's going to be different for your parents to get to the game. Like, if I'm a good player, I don't want to change anything until I get to that draft. Like, I want everything to stay locked in how it is. So again, now if you're a great scenario that Nevada mentioned was Justin Fields. He's stuck behind a quarterback who's a year older than him, feels like he should be playing, leaves for Ohio State. Turns out he was right. He was much better than the kid that was in front of him at Georgia. So that's like a more realistic scenario. But when you're an offensive lineman and you're really good, like, I wouldn't want to change anything, let alone go chase a bag when you've got a big bag waiting for you when you hit the draft. Maurice Clarinet, again, another fantastic name on here. Thank you for the 5. Do you think we'll still see any of those Michigan dudes portaling? Also, any rumblings on positions the Bucks are targeting in the portal? Well, I think it's getting late for those guys. I think that, again, maybe they're just riding it out. Maybe they just want to be true Michigan men. Again, I don't know when the sanctions are going to hit, but that could change things. I never know, because with the portal, we had a kid, Ryan Jacoby, portaled out during training camp and went to Pittsburgh and started at Pittsburgh like that same year. So, I mean, if they get smashed by the NCAA, could they jump? Yeah. I mean, I'd consider it. I mean, those guys, if any of their top 5 guys on that roster hit the portal, they'd be the highest paid guys in all of NIL this year in terms of the transaction and moving. Because, Will Johnson, that D tackle is real good. Colson Loveland's really good. And that's kind of it. I mean, the rest of the guys they kind of stink, in my opinion. And in terms of positions they're going after, of course, they're looking at all the offensive linemen that I'm looking at. They're not going on any of them because none of them are dramatic updates. Because again, just game this out in your head. If you're Carter Smith and you come to Ohio State, I think immediately you probably lose at least 2 of the guys that are in the same class as Carter. They probably hit the portal. They get out of there. They say, what gives, what the F, whatever. So, that's the thing that these guys go through with these coaches and these personnel guys and Ryan Day is like, you got to figure out, is it worth upsetting the apple cart and losing 1 or 2 guys to get a guy that might not even be as good, or it might be a marginal upgrade, or, again, like if George Fitzpatrick and Tigra went to Indiana, do they start at Indiana? Yeah, of course they do, because they're both better than Carter Smith was. But Carter, went to Indiana, started as a freshman, which again, that's not the same as starting at Ohio State as a freshman. It's way different because Indiana is such a downtrodden program. They fired their coach. They've been a disaster ever since and rightfully so. After what they did to Kevin Wilson, I hope that they're the worst team in the Big Ten for the rest of my life. But I think they're still targeting guard, tackle, D tackle, maybe a linebacker, and I think maybe a receiver is a sneaky one. Even though Brian Hartline is not a portal guy, he's never hit the portal. But if you get a veteran guy for a year that you trust, we're as much as JJ is great and Carnell and Ennis, like JJ is a freshman, Ennis was hurt for all of spring, and I think they're both dogs. But like if you get another veteran in there, I don't think it hurts that room. But the surprising thing about that room is none of the younger guys like Kieran Graves, those guys have all stuck. Some guys that if you ask me who are the 5 most likely guys to transfer in the portal, if a couple guys from that receiver room left, it wouldn't shock me at all, just because of how deep it is and how good Ennis and Tate and JJ are. But they've stuck. So great job by Brian and Ryan Day and Chip Kelly for re-recruiting those guys and keeping them here. Nevada, your thoughts? Maurice Clarinet, again, another great name. Asks, do you think we'll see any of those Michigan dudes portaling, and also any rumblings on positions the Bucks are targeting in the portal?
Yeah, the Michigan guys, I just think it's unknowable. I do think the wild card is the NCAA, letter of allegations, and just they're Michigan players, so you don't know. And I say this sincerely, as much as I know you love Colson Loveland and these great players, terrific tight ends, stuff like that. I want those guys to be here in Columbus when we just kick their arses. Okay, I really do. I want them to come in, and I want to do the whole wave goodbye thing to them, and the whole Jesse Minter. I just want to. I want those guys to experience the agony of defeat in Columbus in November, and it's going to be glorious. So I'm putting that out there, but to be perfectly receptive to the question, don't know. We'll see. We'll continue to monitor. As for Ohio State's position on the portal to the agents has been, we're looking to upgrade everywhere. Anywhere we can upgrade, we're in. We're all in for 2024. If you got a guy and he can help, and he's a clear and direct increase over what we have, we're interested. So it's not. It's kind of like the old Dallas Cowboys NFL draft strategy of best athlete available. That's kind of what Ohio State's doing in the portal. They're saying, we're not shopping for a specific position. We're looking for whomever can help us wherever. And, they may have different opinions about who can help, like on this kicker. But if they find somebody they think can help, and they think it's a good trade-off for them in the room, Ohio State's willing to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be interesting. But again, it's just, we're to the point now where these kids, if they're not jumping, man, like, there ain't going to be more money in the coffers. So, if you're not jumping, I don't plan on them jumping. Stacey J, thank you for the 8, and thank you for being an Ultra member. Appreciate you. 8 is the number of scum wins for next year. And Tony Alfred's like you. See, I love the creative super chat. That is very creative. So I was wondering, I don't think I've ever seen an 8. Honest to God, we do this show every single day. I've never seen an 8. So that is absolutely stupendous. Tony Alfred's like you. Tell me the hammer is coming down soon. Been a long 3 years from the spouse of scum. Nevada, again, the cheeseburger gate thing just dropped like this last couple weeks or so, last week or whenever it was. So, I know that the NCAA is as inefficient as our government, so I don't expect them to do anything for a long time. But it'll come. Again, these compliance guys that run these investigations, like, they're not kind. Again, like Arizona State cheated their face off, and they were totally compliant, opened the doors up, got rid of everybody that was involved, and guess what? They still got smoked. So Michigan basically did like the double bird and drank 2 Budweisers like stone cold when the NCAA people showed up. And I don't think they're going to get the same kind receptive. Because again, like, the best thing that you can do in a situation like this is beg for mercy. Here's all the evidence. Here's everything you need. May God have mercy on our souls. And Michigan did the opposite. They just were totally flippant in their response to the NCAA, which I think is crazy. But the timeline, again, we don't touch timelines just because it's so, again, the Burgergate thing happened 3 years, during COVID. You guys remember COVID? I mean, 2020. And it just got ruled on. So I don't know. Your thoughts on that, Nevada? Is the hammer coming down soon? I already know your answer is going to be.
The hammer is coming down. The timing's just the hardest. It's so hard to predict the timing on this stuff because they've expanded the scope of the investigation. They've assigned additional investigators. They're doing re-interviews. So I just hate to get tied into a timeline. I'll just say be patient. It is going to happen. It's gonna come. I think your number 8 on regular season wins for Michigan. That's a good number. I'll buy that number. Tony Alford's IQ, that might be a little high, so I want to go down a little bit on that. Wanted to throw in an extra little Michigan note here. Placed a proposition bet today just because I had to. They have the over under J.J. McCarthy's draft slot is in. You can bet him to fall out of the top 5 in the NFL draft, and I had to do it. And even though I know that there's talking about a trade at 5 from the Vikings to move up to that spot and take him, as a Packers fan, nothing would delight me more. So I kind of feel like this is a win-win situation. But I mean, when you've got Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniel, and Drake May, and Marvin Harrison above him, there's literally only one spot he could slide into, and that's 5. If J.J. McCarthy is a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, then everything that I know about football is a lie. And so I bet it. But you can actually bet that right now. You could bet J.J. McCarthy out of the top 5 of the NFL draft. It was even money. It was an even money bet. So there's a lot of people on the other side of that bet thinking he's going to go to that 5 spot. But, man, I just don't see it. And maybe I'm a moron. Maybe these guys just know more than I do. And throwing the football is not important in the NFL. But I always thought that was an important job for a quarterback.
The quarterback thing is the dumbest thing in all of football every year during the NFL draft, because teams just go crazy for guys like Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, guys. I'm just like, guys. I mean, like Zach Wilson, like I'd never even heard of him, and I watch a lot of college football, and they're like, this guy is better than Justin Fields, and like Justin got maybe the rawest deal I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the Steelers. You know why the Steelers are like the best organization in the NFL? Like they get Justin Fields for a 6th-round pick this year. Like that's criminal. That's insane. I think Justin's gonna have a big year. I think he'll supplant Russell Wilson after about 3 games, and he'll tear it up with those guys, because I think he's in a great organization. And what a trade! Oh my God, get Justin for a 6. Jim Jackson, what is up, my man? I hope you're doing good. Thanks for the 10. No question tonight. Just comment, have to give Kim Barton her flowers for supporting her man and Buckeye Scoop. Love it. Y'all are marriage goals. Much respect. Kim actually threw it down. That's why I was late today. I told Nevada, I was like, Kim's cooking. It's fire. I was running home.
What do you guys have? What'd you have?
We had steaks.
Ooh.
She cooked it. She did the cast iron thing. Again, we can't afford beef Wellington like you, but we did do steaks, and they were actually delicious.
Oh man.
They were fire.
What type of a potato item did you have with that?
No potatoes. She's
Really?
pregnant, and I got to keep our life insurance premiums down, so no carbs for me, despite the beers. But no,
I want you to eat as many carbs as possible.
I know. I can't float away, and I'm just stuck. I'm like, what you're gonna do is you'll build me like that pedestal that Jabba the Hutt has in that floating palace, and then I'll just podcast from that every night. I'll sit there, and I'll have Kim. Kim will be dressed like Slave Leia, and I'll have her on the chain.
Oh.
I'll say, "Bring me a steak. Bring me a steak. Bring me a Red Bull."
How about a nice twice baked potato or something like that? Wouldn't that be nice? Nice twice baked potato.
I probably, but I mean, I don't know if I have time for that twice baked, because you're cracking that whip on that podcast. You're like, hey, it's 7:02, man. We got people waiting. People are gonna go crazy. Okay, we take a night off podcasting. It's bad. Oh, they're gonna burn us up, man. Go ahead.
I'm putting your address on the internet if you take a night off podcast and people show up at your door just for like a personal podcast thing or something.
They're gonna be
I'll do it.
What?
Don't think I won't do it.
Who do you think you are? How on earth can you do it? But it was fire. I appreciate you, Jim. That was very kind of you. Kim is she's a moderator. She's part of the Wrench crew with Akeem and Devin. So she does great. And our kids' checkup went great. So obviously she's pregnant with boy number 3. So that was good. Very, very, very good for us.
Very, very good.
ZZM, thank you for the 5. We really haven't seen Fry develop players yet. Can't judge off of 1 season. Well, he's been here for 2. Is it true it takes 3 seasons to install the entire defensive scheme? Well, I mean, Justin's been here this is year 3 now. So, I mean, this is his room. And in the world of the transfer portal, like, the second you show up, man, it is your room. It's a wrap. So, obviously Paris went 6 overall and Dwan went 3rd. And those are guys that Stud recruited. But, Justin, in all fairness, did coach him for a season. But, Paris is a freak of nature. And I think that, we could have had Cujo, the raccoon, coach him. He probably would have gone 6 overall just because that's how good he was. DeJuan obviously was a guy that botched the combine and the pre-draft process because he probably should have been a first or second round pick and he fell to the fourth. I don't know who was advising him, but it was insane how he acted because I love DeJuan. I think DeJuan has as much upside and he could be a $90 million extension guy when he hits free agency in a few years because he's that good of a pass blocker. Like he's more athletic than Orlando Brown, who plays for the Bengals and multiple time Pro Bowler. And in a world where pass protection is 99% of football now, like DeJuan, that is like his forte, and he's excellent at it. He's got the longest reach in the history of football. So DeJuan could make $90 million on his extension. I'm not kidding. But he lost a lot of money by how he handled the draft process last year because he could have been, easily a first round pick. You look at some of these tackles. You look at some of these tackles that are projected to go in mock drafts in the first round, and they can't. Like Amarius Mims, like he can't touch DeJuan Jones. Can't touch him. But, he had a better process and was a little bit more serious about it, and he'll probably fool some team into taking him. I think he'll be a huge bust, but it's just my opinion. I think this is a big year for Justin. He's got a lot. These are all his guys now for the most part. Some of them were guys that Stud recruited, but he went out and got Jimmy Simmons, and once you've had these guys for 3 years, like Donnie Jackson played for Stud for 1 year. Carson Hinsman was the guy that committed, and you found out that Stud got fired at the All-American game. So it's a big year for Justin. I think that Chip Kelly's offense will help. I think Tim Drevno will help as well. And again, I'm excited about the offensive line. Again, I know that I'm crazy and I'm Mr. Optimist, but I like the talent. I've seen much less talented offensive lines win national championships at Ohio State than this crew. And again, that's just with my eyeballs and my talent and my evaluation and watching film basically every day. So I'm prepped for this show. I like where we're at. I think that we've got a good shot to have a really good offensive line. A lot of the guys I talked to that aren't offensive linemen said that they really liked what they saw, that the line is way better than it was last year. So again, kudos to those kids because, in Columbus, when you have a terrible last game, a terrible bowl game, like this town will eat you alive. And again, I've been in their shoes. So nothing will motivate those guys to do better and play better and be better than, the Missouri stinker that everyone blamed on the offensive line. So I think guys like Josh Fryer, Josh Simmons, I think that they're motivated. Like they don't want to go out like Donnie Jackson. He got tripped and ended the Michigan game and, like on his butt, with his D lineman pressuring Kyle McCord into an interception. Like, yeah, it wasn't his fault, but he still ended up on his butt and it was a pick. And again, that's a play that I guarantee haunts Donnie Jackson. Because again, I've seen that before. I've lived it before. And, like when you're on your butt and your guy makes a play that pressures Kyle McCord to throw a pick to end the Michigan game, when we're throwing at the end zone to win the game, that's haunting. And I'm sure that Donnie's been driven by that. So that's not me being negative towards Donnie. It's just being realistic. Like you see athletes use their failures to fuel them all the time. And especially when it's a game like the Michigan game, and that's when the failure comes, like that never really leaves you. In terms of it taking 3 seasons to install the entire defensive scheme, I think not install it, but for the players to be truly comfortable in it. I think that, when you get to year 2 in the scheme, I think you're just dramatically more comfortable. Year 3, it's like you're to the point of mastery. That first year, it's always going to be tough just because you're learning a new offense. But you want to get to the point where you're at mastery and it as well as Jim Knowles knows it because, like Jim will always be a little bit ahead of everybody because they'll change things. But, guys like Lathan Ransom and Cody Simon, they know that defense cold now. And that's a way different operation than where it was 2 years ago when it wasn't anywhere near as clean. And again, that's not a Jim Knowles thing. That's not a coaching staff thing. That's just the natural way how football goes. And that's why you'll see some of these NFL draft picks, they'll go to organizations, like the old Browns back in the day where they'd have like 5 offensive coordinators in 5 years. And then the quarterback, they say, oh, the quarterback's the best. It's like, well, how does he have a chance when he's never running the same offense 2 years in a row? He never gets any sort of comfort level. He never really is truly, like synthesized with his coordinator when you fire the coordinator every single year, you fire the head coach every year. And that's why I always tell people these quarterbacks are at the mercy of the organization, the coaching staff, and the infrastructure. And again, it's not always going to be perfect, but when all three are Fs, like that kid, it doesn't matter who it is, he's going to be a bust. Like Peyton Manning, if Peyton Manning would have been drafted by the Cleveland Browns in 1999, he would have been Tim Couch. He would have been a bust. He would have gotten beaten to death, or he getting drafted by the Texans in 01 when they took David Carr. Like David Carr got sacked like 76 times his rookie year, and no quarterback can survive that because you're punch drunk, But Peyton went to a place where they had a first round left tackle. They had Marvin Harrison on the roster. They had Marshall Faulk. They traded Marshall Faulk. They drafted Edgerrin James. They drafted Reggie Wayne. So I mean that was like, then they get Dallas Clark in the mid rounds. I mean it's like the optimal solution for a quarterback is surrounded by great players. Bill Polian is your GM and really good offensive people on their side of the ball. So Peyton is obviously one of the greatest players in the history of the NFL. Not taking anything away from him, but it helps when you have great players around you to help yourself. So Nevada, the question was, you haven't seen Justin Fry develop players yet, and you can't judge F1 season, even though this is season 3. Is it true it takes 3 seasons to install an entire defensive scheme as well?
Well, on the Justin Fry thing, all I'll say is this, because you can talk about, we could take this down the stud rabbit hole, or who drafted or who recruited who, or who coached who, or whatever. And I think those things are all, it's fine. Having said that, the Cotton Bowl performance by the offensive line was the most embarrassing thing that I've seen in maybe ever watching Ohio State football. I've never seen a group so completely overwhelmed, and that is on Fry. And you can't. Here's where it's on Fry. I understand Carson Hinsman has snapping issues, and I understand that's got it. Okay, understood. Well, then you can't put Matt Jones in there because Matt doesn't know the calls, and says I don't know the calls. So your only solution to that is to put Carson next to him and let Carson make the calls, help him with the calls from right guard. You don't take Carson out, put Matt in, and then put Enoch in there, who was just overwhelmed. And he, like you said many times, great kid. This is nothing personal, but that was coaching malpractice, what we did last year. And then combine that by, let's not vary the snap count. Just everything else that we did that evening was just horrible. But that is on Fry. That's on Fry as far as I'm concerned. So all that other stuff we can throw up as a jump ball, who developed who recruited who did whatever. But that Cotton Bowl, now that was bad. So for me, Justin Fry is right at the bottom of the coaching list. And I know he's Ryan's buddy, and I know, he says, I'm going to point my finger and we're going to run through that hole every time. I think he's been a disappointment. Do I think he can be better? Yes. Do I want him to be better? Yes. Do I hope he has a great year this year? And I hope the offensive line, I think he's going to get really bailed out by Chip Kelly, by having guys, returning basically 5 starters. They're going to get better. It's going to be a better group, but he's got to be better. That Cotton Bowl's on him, and that was bad. And that's another F, and possibly F minus or F incomplete or F0 or whatever else grade we can come up with, because that was really bad, and that was on him. As for the defense, no, I think you nailed it. I think it's a 2-year install to fully install. It's a 3-year for mastery, and that's when you have all these 3rd-year guys. The Ty Leaks and the JTs and the JT Tumalaws and the Cody Simons and the Lathan Ransom and the Denzel Burks, and I mean, when you've got that many guys, that's why I'm so excited about a unbelievably elite defense last year taking another step. And I think we're going to see that this year. I will say right now, despite who we're playing, despite that, we will not give up more than 21 points in any game this year, and our defense will finish number 1 in the country. And I'm willing to bet that. I mean, it's going to be an unbelievable defense.
Yeah, I totally agree. Donald and Karen Rossbuck, thank you for the 5. Your jersey was mailed back, so you should get it in a day or 2. Kim, thank you for running that to the post office today. Thank you for the 5. Kirk, I never want to see you in Michigan gear again. That was sacrilegious. Nevada
OH.
Nevada, do you know what they're talking about?
I do. There was a picture of you wearing your Michigan stuff, and I'm sorry that got out. I'm sorry that people had to see that, but it is what it is, and we're gonna have to deal with the fallout of you being a closet Michigan fan and a little honorary Wolverine.
I mean, this Photoshop is just it is absolutely hilarious. So this is the photo that's on it's on BuckeyeScoop.com. But like, you can like see like, for one, like I really needed a haircut. For two, that was for my rookie year with the Bears. So it's like you can tell that I was, sequestered in a hotel, miserable, trying to get seventh rounder, trying to make the team. So I was in no mood to smile for my photo. Yeah, and this guy's just, whoever this guy is just not real big. This is probably like a high school freshman doing his little photo shoot, but it is hilarious. And again, I appreciate the guy that took the time to do it, because like I was like, they didn't have Jordan jerseys back then, and like my head is like as big as my entire upper body in this. So again, anatomically, I don't know if it's correct, but hey, we're here for it. Again, you guys want to know what the offseason looks like at Buckeye Scoop? This is where we're at. Or they're superimposing me on a Michigan jersey, because what did I say? Because everyone's like, oh, Kirk is a closet diehard Michigan fan. I was like, I don't know about all that. I mean, I'd like to get Carson or Colson Loveland on our team, but that's about the end of it. That's about where all my love for Michigan ends. But I don't know. Like, I mean, it's they're like the most obnoxious human beings in the world. They know that. And again, like that's on Ryan. Ryan Day's got to go. He's got to go back and get these guys out of here, because they weren't around for 20 years, man. Like I didn't see a Michigan shirt in Upper Arlington or New Albany or Delaware or Polaris for 20 years, and now I've seen more in the last 2 years than I did for 20. So the varmints are back out. So the only way you can get rid of them is to take them behind the woodshed. So hopefully the guys realize that. I know that most of these guys are from Florida and Georgia and California and wherever, but like when we were growing up in the mid 90s, man, and we lost to Michigan every single year, I mean, I couldn't wait to actually play these guys, because I was like, I do not want to go out like that. And thank God again for the skill guys I played with. I tell people, I'm like, look, Orlando Pace, the greatest player in school history, but if you don't score touchdowns, man, it's hard to win games. So you get Troy Smith, and you get Santonio, and you get Beanie, you get Pittman. Like, life is amazing. Ted Ginn. And I had those guys, and they were Wolverine murderers. So I absolutely loved it. And Dennis, Dennis this is my kind of guy right here. Dennis Moore, appreciate you, man. He says, I don't own anything blue. Ask Kim the last time she seen me wear anything blue. I never wear any blue, ever. And again, that was something that, Urban was crazy about guys wearing blue, because, NFL scouts from the Lions or Seahawks would show up in their stupid blue windbreakers and stuff, and Urban wouldn't let them wear it. And I loved that. Urban was like that crazy about it, because when he showed up to the Woody, and we're in our staff meeting room, and I told him, I was like, we don't really, I told him, and Fick was there, but mostly Fick, because Fick had been in the Woody for a while. I'm like, we don't use blue pens. Like when we open up the eraser, the dry eraser thing, and there's red and orange and yellow and green, like we throw the blue in the trash, like instantly. Like that's how we do it. And we don't use blue ballpoint pens. And, we had Ed Warner and Tim Hinton, who came from Notre Dame, and everything in their wardrobe was blue, and their only color pen they used was blue. And I was like, well, we don't use blue. And so Urban like took all the pens and threw them in the trash. And he like loved stuff like that. Like Urban was so easy to set off, because he was like one of those things you wind it up, and then it starts rolling along. It's like a tank that shoots missiles or something. Like that's what Urban was. You could wind it up, and man, he loved that. So he didn't allow blue in the building. He never wore blue. Now he's retired, obviously, and he lives in Florida, and he's a Gator too, so he wears blue now. But there's a lot of blue in the Woody Hayes nowadays, which is kind of peculiar. But hey, it's like Nevada says, a little bit at first, and then all at once. You never know. Nevada, we can wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, I just want to echo your well wishes to Tom Ryan. Hopefully what a terrible story. Hopefully he makes a full recovery, and our prayers are with him and with everybody within the wrestling family. Wrestling family is close to our heart too, and Coach Ryan a speedy recovery.
And Tom Ryan is one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my entire life. So, I mean, again, of all the guys that I'm praying, have a safe surgery, 'cause he might still be in surgery right now. It was pretty comprehensive stuff. It's all over the news now, but we had it early thanks to the wrestling donors. But I'm just saying, like, he is a great human being. So, I wish him nothing but the best, man. I hope he makes a full recovery as fast as possible. He's tough as nails. So if there's a guy that can do it, it's Tom Ryan. We're just thinking about him. And then there's Kim chiming in that we do not have blue on at all. So Kim is the GOAT. She knows what's good. And I appreciate her. So with that being said, we'll wrap this show up again. We appreciate you guys kicking with us each and every night. This was a huge show because you guys made it once. So thank you. As always, we love doing the show with you guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in each and every night, kicking it. The chat is always fire. Thank you to all of the people that are in the chat. Thank you to Akeem and Devin and Kim for moderating the chat, keeping it nice and clean. As always, it makes it nice and it's a fun family experience, which is what we like. So we appreciate you guys as always, and hope you guys enjoyed it. With that being said, what do you guys do for the draft? Love to see in the comments what you guys are doing for the NFL draft. Do we do a live stream? I'm sure we'll do our show, but I think the draft will probably tip off at 7. I'm not sure if it's 7 or 8, but we'll talk about it tomorrow. But let me know your plans for the draft, and we'll let me know what should we do. So I'd like to watch it. It's a little different without the Browns and Bengals obviously having high picks like they used to every year. But Marvin will go top 5 or so, and then we'll see how the rest of it falls. But this doesn't have the Ohio State flavor that it normally does. Next year, I think will be stupendous because I think there's going to be a lot of guys that are really battling to be first rounders. So it's going to be fun to watch it next year with the Bucks. So, but if you guys enjoyed this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. As always, we appreciate you guys each and every time you guys tune in for supporting the show, the episodes. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for taking care of our veterans and our first responders. As always, we appreciate all that you guys do. If you guys could shout out where you guys are watching from, shout out who you guys are watching with. Again, I love seeing the different cities, countries, and continents you guys are watching from. It's always a big kick for me to see how much this thing has spread across the globe. So thank you for that. As always, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. You guys are the best. Appreciate you guys. And thank you guys for kicking it. I'll see you guys at 7 tomorrow. Go Bucks.